Well, it's that time once again. While researching paranormal videos, I found a couple paranormal experiences I thought were worth sharing. So, instead of me dissecting people's stories today, I'll just let them tell them to you. I now present to you
What the heck is going on in Ocala National Forest? Apparently my scary stories have reached quite a few people here in Florida, and I got sent an email. The man did not want, he didn't even say his real name in the email, just have the email address, but he did not want his name used and didn't give his name. He is a fellow Floridian, an avid outdoorsman. He goes all over Florida and even outside of Florida, camping in different like state parks and things like that. And even like kind of off-grid camping, getting lost on purpose type thing. But he said he had been out to Ocala National Forest during the day many times, had never stayed overnight. He wanted to do that for a couple of nights. And so he took his tent and his camping gear and went out there. One of his friends, he said in the email, warned him and told him, hey man, like you shouldn't go out there by yourself. I can't go out there with you this time. Like you should probably take somebody with you. There is some really sketchy things that go on out there at nighttime. It's beautiful during the day, but at night it can get pretty spooky. And even for people like us, and he meant, you know, people that camp all the time, like we can't explain some of the things that we have heard from other people that have camped out there. I am just going to read you what this man sent to me and let you decide. So if you like a scary story, have a seat. You're not going to want to miss this one. This happened 6 months ago, he said, out in Ocala National Forest. He was going out there for a solo trip, like I said. He had a friend that told him exactly how to get to a camping spot that him and his family had used in the past. Nothing crazy. It was about a mile off the service road. No, you know, signs, none of that stuff. So he gets out there, sets up his campsite, and all ready to go. He said he had a great day. He had been like kind of hiking down the trails and just taking pictures out in nature that he was going to post on social media. Everything was going fine throughout the night. He finally decided, he said, to turn in around 11, and at 2:13, and he said, I remember the exact time because I looked, is when it happened. He said he woke up at 2:13 a.m. Because he checked his phone, hearing footsteps outside of his tent. Light footsteps. He thought honestly that it was a deer at first because they're just out there all of the time. But he said this did not move like an animal. He said it would take a few steps and then stop, and then a few more and stop, almost like it was trying not to be heard. Then it started circling his tent. He said he didn't move. He just kind of stayed still, didn't even open the flap to check, and just sat there. He said he could hear crunch, crunch, stop, crunch, crunch, stop. And then it stopped right behind his head, literally inches away from the fabric of the tent. He said that's whenever he could hear breathing. Not loud, just steady, like human breathing. He said he turned the flashlight on his phone, but he did not open his tent. He just held the flashlight against the fabric of the tent. He said that is when he saw a silhouette, head, shoulders, standing completely still. He said he completely froze. Then he said he could see the shape of a face pressing into the fabric of the tent like it was trying to see inside. Oh my God. As if all of that wasn't scary enough, then it whispered his name. Not yelled, not guessed, whispered like it knew him. He did not respond. He said, I couldn't. I was literally that scared. And then he could hear the leaves crunching as it was walking away. He said this was the part that messed him up the most. He said it did not go very far. It was literally just outside the clearing, walking. He could hear it walking back and forth, slow, patient, like it was waiting. He said he didn't even think he moved an inch for the rest of the night. He just like sat there frozen in fear. And at sunrise, he packed all of his stuff. He didn't even eat. He just got the heck out of there. He said when he got back to his SUV, he saw something scratched into his paint on the driver's side door. It was 3 words: "You looked back." He said that was so weird because he didn't ever leave his tent and he didn't look outside. He said, but he swears that whenever he was holding the flashlight up to the fabric of the tent and seeing that silhouette, he swears that he could see something like there was something behind that silhouette, as if there were 2 of them. And that was the email. He did send an attachment that included the Google Maps pinned location of where exactly this happened at out there. And I'll tell you something, it's kind of got me creeped out and almost curious enough to want to go out there and investigate for myself.
What would you do if your husband came home from work early and sat down at the kitchen table, but then you get a call from your real husband? This is Scared with Jess, and today's story is about a woman who said that something came into her house, but it wasn't her husband. I was making dinner when I heard the front door open. At first, that didn't bother me. My husband had texted earlier saying work was busy, though every now and then he'd get out early. It happened. I was at the stove, half paying attention to the pasta, half thinking about whether we still had enough garlic bread for both of us, and when I heard his shoes in the hallway, I called out, "You're home early." He didn't answer. That was the first thing that got under my skin. Usually he'd respond right away. Even if he was tired, even if he was in a mood, he'd say something. And this time I just heard a pause and then one quiet, flat, "Yeah." I turned around and he was standing in the kitchen doorway looking at me. The same work shirt and same face, but something still in me tightened up. He didn't come over, he didn't kiss my cheek, he didn't drop his bag by the wall like he usually does. He just stood there watching me like he was trying to remember what I'd look like from that angle. I laughed a little because I felt silly for even noticing and said, "Everything okay?" He asked, "Did anyone call today?" I said no. And then he asked, "Did you unlock the back door?" I remember blinking at him because the question was so strange. I said, "What?" He asked again in the same voice and same expression. I said, "No, I hadn't." Then he said, "Did you tell anyone I live here?" That was when my stomach dropped. I asked him what he was talking about, and he didn't answer. He came into the kitchen, pulled out a chair, and sat at the table. He folded his hands in front of him and looked at me. I turned the stove off, and I didn't think about it. I just did it. Then my phone rang. I looked down at the screen, and the blood left my face. It was my husband. At the table, the thing wearing him smiled. I answered the call with my hand shaking so hard I nearly lost the grip on my phone. And he said, "Hey, I'm leaving now. I should be home in 20. I couldn't speak. Then he said, "Why are you whispering?" I looked over at the kitchen table, and it was still sitting there in his chair with that same little smile, waiting. I said as quietly as I could, "If you're not home, who is sitting in my kitchen?" He went silent, and I could hear traffic behind him for a second. Then he said, sharp enough to cut right through me, "What?" The thing at the table stood up, slowly. It never broke eye contact with me. Then it turned and walked towards the stairs. I watched it go because I could not make my legs work. It moved like it knew the house, like it had already been there a while. My husband kept saying my name through the phone, and I finally whispered, "It's going upstairs." That stopped him. I heard his car door slam on his end. Then he said, "Get out of the house right now." I still wasn't moving. He shouted it again louder, "Get out right now." From upstairs, I heard footsteps begin, heavy and slow, one after another above my head. I backed towards the front door without taking my eyes off the staircase. I asked him, "If that's not you, who is upstairs?" He was quiet for a second, and then he said, "I left the attic ladder down this morning." I ran. I didn't take my purse, I didn't grab my keys from the hook, I just yanked the front door open and bolted barefoot across the yard to my neighbor's porch. I was pounding on their door, and my husband got there in maybe 10 minutes. He went in first, and my neighbor went with him. They checked every room, but nobody was there. The attic ladder was down. That part was true. Nothing in the attic either, at least not that they found. Just insulation in boxes and some old Christmas stuff that we keep up there. My husband kept asking if I was sure I hadn't fallen asleep or mixed something up or had somebody come by who left before he got there. I didn't blame him for trying to make sense of it. I would have done the same thing. But on the kitchen table, right where that thing had been sitting, there was a damp handprint. And when my husband pushed the attic ladder back up, something moved across the top of it. Definitely wasn't a rat or settling wood. I mean, it was a shift of weight. He stopped with both hands still on the ladder and looked up into the opening. I saw his face change. He pulled the ladder shut fast enough to make the ceiling shake. We stayed in a hotel that night, and he still doesn't talk much about what he thought he saw up there, which tells me he did see something. I also never told him one part. When I was standing in the kitchen with him on the phone and that thing was walking towards the stairs, it passed the hall mirror, and for a second I could see its reflection. It was still my husband's body, but the face wasn't his anymore.
Number 3.
A woman named Elle reached out and she said they are keeping things underground in Kansas, and if those things ever got out, we would be completely screwed as a society. Now, Elle says her ex-husband was very stoic, very mean, and very no-nonsense. He was decorated in the military, and they had been married for 4 years when he finally told her this story. And the only reason he told her was because they were stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic for over 8 hours. She gave me a lot of information so that I was able to verify that he is a real person and did the job that she said that he did. But in order to keep both her and his identities private, all I'm going to tell you is that he joined the military at age 18, and 8 of the years that he was in the service, he spent between Iraq and Afghanistan. Now retired and on 100% disability due to a direct IED hit while paratrooping. So years ago, when Elle and her ex were still married, they were on a road trip to visit a friend in another city, and the trip was supposed to take about 8 hours, but they got caught in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and those 8 hours turned into 20. Apparently a really bad accident. The highway was completely stopped, and it was so bad that people were parking their cars on the interstate and getting out and talking to each other, on the hoods of their car, hanging out because nobody could go anywhere. Car is off. She says she was always passenger princess and he had been driving during this road trip, but after they had been stuck for several hours, they had a bottle in the trunk. He decided to get a little bit tipsy. She was like, no problem, I can drive. They're not going anywhere soon anyway, so they're sitting there. He starts drinking, he gets a little loose, and that's when he tells her this story that she could not believe, because in all the years that they had known each other, he had never talked any kind of nonsense to her. But he tells her that when he was stationed in Afghanistan, he was like the big boss of his command. I'm sure there's a proper term. I apologize. I'm not familiar with military terminology, but stationed about 20 miles away from Kandahar. And one night he's sleeping and he's awoken by a real life Jason Bourne type figure, as he described it to her. And he does not know this man, but this man instructs him to gather 2 men under his command that he trusts the most. One of the men is going to be escorting him, and the other man is going to act as a watcher to ensure that nobody else at their station knows that these people even left. And Elle's ex tells her that he had heard of these secret men, but he had never believed in them, and he was the highest authority at his post. Meant that there was no commanding officer over him at this post, and he had not approved this Jason Bourne type to enter the post, especially not his personal quarters. But he gathers 2 men, he does what he's told, he instructs soldier number 1 to stay there and keep watch, and soldier number 2 to follow him. That he didn't know what they were getting into, but he knew that something serious was about to go down. They go about 2 miles away, and they are met with 2 other special forces, an Army Ranger and a Navy SEAL, and he found this extremely strange because Navy SEALs are not typically on missions in Afghanistan or Iraq. Elle says she's not aware of this, but this is just what he told her. Anyway, the Army Ranger hands him what is essentially an NDA, but they referred to it as something different. They have him and the soldier that he chose to assist him sign. After they sign the paperwork, they are led to 2 large, special marked cargo, temperature-controlled containers. He recognized because he used to work in logistics as an Army Ranger. He knew that these were used at one point to ship out weaponized viruses. Is expecting something to that effect, I suppose. But they go in and there is a dead giant. Elle's ex was allegedly instructed to remove his personal belongings and take his measurements. Even though he was no longer alive, they also were instructed to ensure that he was securely tied down. Describe this giant to Elle as being over 17 feet long with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Had red hair, a beard, and was wearing a loincloth that he described to Elle as being similar to what Brendan Fraser wore in Tarzan. He weighed in at over 900 pounds, and he told Elle that he smelled like evil. And Elle remembers saying, "Evil's not a smell. What does evil smell like?" And he said, "Me trying to explain that to you would be me trying to explain what a painting looks like to someone who was born blind. You would never know the smell unless you smelled it yourself." He told Elle that they also removed a satchel from him that was made of the same material that his loincloth was, which they assumed to be the hide of some kind of animal. Inside the satchel were weapons made from bones and a spear that was made probably from a tree trunk. They then assisted in shipping this cargo container with the dead giant inside to an underground facility in Kansas where apparently he said they keep a lot of these things. That's when he said, "That's not all that's there, but if I told you what was there and if those things ever got out, we would all be effed." Scary Storytime is a series of allegedly true listener-submitted stories. Keep in mind these can come from anyone. None of this story should be taken as absolute fact, but all of these stories are sent in by real people. That said, Elle's name has been changed, but she will be seeing the comments. If you have a story you think nobody would believe, send it in. We'd love to hear it.
Number 4.
So has anybody else seen that video where that girl bought a haunted mirror at a garage sale for $2? So she buys it and she brings it home from the garage sale and she's looking all over her house for the best place for it. She can't find anywhere, so she decides to sit it in the corner facing her bed. Which, if you've heard many ghost stories, you probably know that you're not supposed to have a mirror facing your bed. Fast forward to later that night, they're all in bed asleep. Her and her husband are awoken to the sound of their baby crying in the other room. Her husband goes to take care of their daughter. While her husband was in the other room taking care of the baby, she hears a door close. She thought it might just be her son waking up, so she got up and she decides to go take a look and see if her son's awake, and there was nobody up. She didn't think much of it. She just laid back down and went back to bed. The next morning, her husband came to her and was like, "Hey, so last night when I was in the room taking care of our baby, did you come in there and kick my leg?" And of course she was like, "No, I didn't kick your leg. Like, what do you mean?" And so he tells her, somebody forcefully kicked his leg while he was in there taking care of the baby, as if they were trying to wake him up, like it was her trying to wake him up. Or at least that's what he thought. At this time, she still wasn't really putting the pieces together, like she wasn't thinking that it was the mirror or like a connection to anything. If you remember, that's when she heard the door close. So at the same time that her husband's leg was getting kicked, she heard a door shut. Coincidence? I don't know. So fast forward and she starts having these like super vivid, scary dreams. Like dreams that her family's being attacked by witches and she's like praying in these dreams, and it's just super scary and super real and vivid. And she had never experienced having bad dreams like that before. And at this point, she still wasn't really connecting the dots. Like she hadn't figured out that it was the mirror that was making all these things happen. Until one day she was talking to her friend, and her friend like casually mentioned in conversation that you shouldn't have mirrors facing beds. And that's when like a light bulb went off and all the dots started connecting, and she was like, "Oh wait, maybe this has to do with the mirror," because it all started the day that she bought it at the garage sale and brought it home and sat it facing towards her bed. Mind you, this video was posted 22 hours ago and it only had like 40 likes or something. But she said last night she was sitting there and she starts hearing this weird beeping sound. It's like beep 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 boop boop beep beep boop. So she goes to investigate what the sound is coming from, and she posted a video clip of what she found, so I'm gonna insert that now. Everything else that had been going on, she automatically assumed that this was just connected. She thought maybe the battery was just low, so she decided to throw it out the door and grab it in the morning and see, if the battery had died. Lo and behold, this morning, the battery was fine, the phone was still working like normal. So she decided it was time to get rid of this thing. She found somebody that wanted the mirror. I'm not sure who. I'm sure she told them what was going on and everything. But anyway, somebody wanted the mirror. They came and got it, and she said that her entire house just feels like it's been spared. I'm going to go ahead and insert a photo of the mirror now. If you don't want to see it, I suggest you go ahead and scroll. So this is what it looks like. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you feel weird energy when you see it? Let me know what y'all thought about this story in the comments. I love reading y'all's thoughts. A scary story of your own that you'd like for me to share, you can send it to my email address, which is even better if you have like video footage or evidence. Just send it all. I love to read y'all's scary stories. It's so much fun.
Number 5.
What's your most terrifying paranormal experience? I'll go first. Mine was about a year ago. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up and I think I hear one of my kids yelling for me. So I lay here for a minute trying to come to my senses, and I hear it again. And it sounds like my 5-year-old, and he's saying, "Hey mommy, can you come here? I need you." And I'm like, "Hey buddy, what's going on?" Because it sounds like he's like right outside my bedroom door, and it's cracked like this much, but I can't see him, but I can see that it's dark. And he says, "I need you. I had a bad dream." And I say, "Okay buddy, just come on in here and lay down with me. We'll snuggle, and you can just sleep in here with me the rest of the night." And he goes, "No, I need you to come here." And I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of weird because this is the kind of kid, he does not like the dark. If he needs me, he comes running in here at night and gets right in bed. So I just say, okay, buddy, just come here. And he keeps arguing and getting angrier and angrier. And eventually it gets to the point where he is outside the door, screaming, hitting the door, throwing a fit, but the door never moves. Like, it's already open. It doesn't ever move. So finally I'm like, okay, I'm coming. I'll be right there. And I go to sit up. And when I put my hand down, I put my hand down on my 5-year-old. He was already in bed with me. So whatever that was, as soon as I touched him, it stopped. Whatever it was trying to lure me out of my room into the dark by myself at 3 a.m. It was horrifying.
And thus ends today's tales. I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, maybe consider clicking the buttons like, comment, share, subscribe are all fantastic ways to help out this channel. Either way, just know whatever you do, I appreciate your viewership, and I will scare you in the next one.